Welcome to another episode of Mission Compliance, Unleashing Growth Potential for Defense Contractors. In today's episode, we're diving into a crucial aspect of DFARS and CMMC compliance, continuous monitoring. Join us as we uncover the significance of continuous monitoring in maintaining compliance, explore its role in safeguarding sensitive data, and provide actionable insights to streamline your compliance efforts. Get ready to elevate your compliance game with invaluable tips and strategies. So whether you're a defense contractor aiming to win more contracts or simply someone interested in bolstering your cybersecurity knowledge, you're in the right place. What's in the box? We're joined once again today by Mike Frieder, President of On-Call Compliance Solutions and a CMMC Professional Assessor. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Hey, always a pleasure, Roman.
So Mike, today we're talking about continuous monitoring. And while the title of that might sound pretty straightforward, there might be some people out there that's not really sure what it means. So with that being said, first of all, what is continuous monitoring and why is it so crucial in compliance?
So I think this is perhaps maybe one of the most misunderstood concepts when it comes to NIST SP 800-171. So I love this topic. The traditional IT setup, it typically involves, an antivirus, maybe an endpoint EDR, XDR, that kind of thing. And those are reactive solutions. Even a firewall is a reactive solution, right? So bad packets come through the firewall, they don't meet the heuristics, and they get filtered out. That is reacting to bad stuff that has entered the funnel, if you will, of the network. So where continuous monitoring requirements come in is the idea that it's not just going to be malicious stuff that creates a problem. And this is a really core and key concept to NIST SP 800-171, that reactive solutions are just not good enough. I would say more than half the controls relate to the need for someone who is compliant to be proactive in their approach to security, which requires continuous monitoring and a high level of diligence, or solutions that can essentially be diligent for you. That's a new concept for a lot of people. That's something that I feel a lot of people are not used to. Again, I was discussing this with someone yesterday. In a typical network of, let's say, 500 or less computers, you're going to have a great IT manager. They're going to know what they're doing as far as IT stuff goes, and they're there to keep the network up and running. What they are not there to do is secure the network. That is not the first order of business. What's crazy is management assumes that keeping a network safe and keeping a network up and running are the same. So they think, I'm going to hire an IT guy. They're going to keep everything safe, secure, and up and running. And that's just not how this works. The skill set of a really good quality cybersecurity engineer is not a guy that fixes stuff. He's a person who understands the labyrinth of solutions, how to set up that continuous monitoring, and then be responsive to security related things. And security related alerts and continuous monitoring have to trump repairing things. If you have a situation where you have an IT professional and they have a choice between responding to a security alert that could potentially be something very dangerous and going to keep a user up and running, they're obviously going to have to go get that user back up and running. That's money being spent versus a security incident where it's like, look, it could be nothing, it could be something, who knows? Either way, the company's not making money off this thing. So I think that's first and foremost to get out of the way is the understanding that continuous monitoring is an ever-present 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. It's not the same thing that's done by a typical IT person, particularly one who's charged with answering help desk tickets and keeping the network up and running. It's just not the same thing. And then finally, the thought is, ultimately that is the difference between being compliant, not being compliant, I think, which is having tools and solutions in place to adequately, continuously monitor the network so that now we're not just seeing the bad things when they're already here, right? Because some attacks are zero-day attacks and you can't defend against them. It is, what are the indicators of attack? And that is a big difference. There's a great example, right? Antivirus is not going to stop a connection coming in from China, Iran, Russia, etc. Okay, it's not what an antivirus's job is. However, if you have a SIEM solution or a security information and event management solution, that should be set up to alert you of foreign IP connections to your network. Then you go and investigate that and decide, do I want to ban that IP address? Do I want to take any action at all, or is that legitimate? That is proactive. Nothing bad's happened yet, but there could be bad stuff that happens, and there could be a precursor or an indicator that someone is accessing your network from afar. That is a terrific example of what the difference is between continuous monitoring, proactive monitoring versus what does the average company have, and what does the average IT guy know to put in place? Average IT guy is going to go, well, let me get like CrowdStrike or some kind of antivirus in place that's going to, take care of all the bad stuff that's already here, as opposed to I need something in place that will detect indicators that a bad thing is about to happen and stop it, or at least alert IT to be able to go investigate it. So yeah, that's really big difference maker in continuous monitoring.
Right. So with that being said, can you outline, I know you've touched on this a little bit. Can you outline maybe some of the risks of not having that continuous monitoring as far as being compliant?
Yeah. It's interesting. We offer a service, we offer many services, but we offer a service called dark web monitoring. Dark web monitoring alerts us if your username and password shows up on the internet. If you have a person who is remoting into your network and they are an unauthorized user, but they have stumbled upon working credentials, there is simply nothing that's going to trigger an antivirus or any other kind of security system if they have the key. In other words, if there's a bad guy and they got a key to your front door or your house, they're getting in. That's it. Because there's nothing malicious that they've done that would alert any security system, right? So if they've got the dial pad of the alarm system and they got a key to get in the front door, um, sorry, but there's nothing that has set off an alarm yet. And so what continuous monitoring serves to do is be a major, massive preventative. Um, you can typically spot most serious attacks months ahead of time. They're in your network doing reconnaissance. They're trying to figure out what's going on, who's who. They're trying to figure out what they can extort. They're trying to figure out what's a foolproof attack. That takes time to gather information. It takes time to packet sniff, all that kind of stuff. So I think what are the risks? Well, the risk is that any really serious attack these days, it's not going to just be like someone sprayed a virus at your network. Like it doesn't, that's how it used to be, but that's not how it is anymore. The risk is that you have no idea that right now you can have a foreign person sitting inside of one of your computers, actively just sitting there with a packet sniffer, listening to what's going on in your network and picking up passwords as they're typed in, picking up data as it's transferred around the network unencrypted, all kinds of things that, again, just simply would not be something that an antivirus or typical computer security system would detect. So the risk, honestly, it's the worst risk. The worst risk is you've got someone sitting in your network stealing your information, which is the big problem in defense today. And when they're doing that, you have no idea. And that they get so much time in your network, just completely, not really being interfered with, that they can plan the perfect attack, right? The perfect ransomware where they figured out where your backups are, they figured out where your offsite backups are. They've waited till somebody, put in a password, used key sniffers. They've really got a foolproof way of just beating down the door and providing you with a worst case outcome. And that's the risk. Those are the attacks. And there's always indicators of those attacks.
Right, exactly. And so in that same vein, it's obviously important to have continuous monitoring as part of your cybersecurity posture and that kind of thing. So are there any challenges in acting this in an organization and getting this going? Like I know we've mentioned on this podcast before that compliance isn't necessarily it might on the face of it seem like the IT department's responsibility, but some organizations have specific compliance people, compliance officers, so it doesn't necessarily fall in the IT guy's realm of responsibility. So are there any challenges when it comes to getting this set up in an organization?
Yeah, I think there's probably three major challenges right off the top of my head that I can think of. Number one is cost. Continuous monitoring solutions simply cost extra money. So the IT director is going to have to go to the owner. The owner is going to have to take a hit on profitability to implement these solutions. We teach our clients that they should work in that extra cost that's required by compliance into their work, whether it's increasing their prices, asking for cost reimbursement, planning those expenses into the contract. There's lots and lots of ways to do it, but the bottom line is pretty simple, which is you need to do it somehow. So one is cost, two is culture. A lot of IT guys don't understand why they need this kind of a solution. They say that's overkill. They just for whatever reason have never dealt with a true Siemens SOC solution before. They just don't really see the point in continuous monitoring. They say, look, my antivirus has it. So there's an educational and a cultural gap with the people. And then the third part is some of these systems can be intrusive. I'll give you a great example. We utilize a solution called Threat Locker. Threat Locker is proactive in that it will not allow any unknown application to run. That is going to create a little bit of overhead for the IT department. It's going to create a little bit of headache, but the increase in security by simply disallowing anything net new to run in the environment, that is exactly what's going to save your butt. That is exactly the kind of protection that you have to put in an environment where you're required to be compliant, that you're going to hold defense secrets and diagrams to defense articles and all the secretive stuff that we've got with controlled unclassified information. Sorry, there's just going to be an extra cost to it, and there's going to be some extra overhead. And again, a continuation of that third point is you may need to actually add a person on staff to monitor this stuff. So there's two alternatives. You can outsource the monitoring, that continuous monitoring, or you can insource it. And that is a personal question for the IT department. I'll tell you that if you're under 500 computers, I think it's probably better to outsource it. There are some really, really great companies. We are one of them that does that continuous monitoring and has the right tools that are cost effective. And I just think it's the best way to do things. But when you get to be a little bit larger, it makes sense to have a security officer. Depending upon what it is you have going on, maybe you have extra security and there's real value there for that. But I think that you've got to build in that capability for having security related people, whether it's outsourced or insourced, that are going to be looking over this and doing the actual monitoring activities and remediation activities for that matter. So, I think there are some major roadblocks from education to cost to resources. I think all of the major business problems existed getting in the way of this thing. But again, for us in the world of defense, it's easy. It's just simply the law. We have to do it. But it also makes sense to understand what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it.
It's just simply the law. There, that's what this boils down to, and this is a great topic. But if you've been a long time listener or watcher of this podcast, you know what comes next. We do a bit of a silly question, and I got to be honest with you, Mike, and with our audience. In crafting these episodes, sometimes our silly questions hit on the target, sometimes they don't. Today is one of the days where they don't. I don't know where this question came from. It's not my best. We're going to roll with it anyway. In a situation where continuous monitoring is in your plan and in your cybersecurity posture, you'll be able to look out more for those viruses, those attacks, those things. But you might also be able to do that if everyone's in a better mood, including your system. So with that being said, will playing soothing music help my systems comply better?
Great question. I wish that it would, but the reality is soothing music will only serve to relax the guards around the jail. So no, I don't think soothing music is really going to help in this situation. But let's talk about what does help in the situation. The first thing is education and understanding. I think it's really a huge part of where we come in. When we do our gap analysis and solution design, we look at what you've got. We look to see, can it be configured to do continuous monitoring? Do you have tools that'll work for you? That's always a big question of our clients coming in. And, the next thing is, what is the most cost-effective way to do this? Microsoft has some solutions that make sense in certain circumstances, but there are other solutions out there that we're huge fans of that are very cost-effective. And you have to watch out because continuous monitoring can become very expensive. And again, not picking on any one particular, vendor, but there are some vendors out there where, your startup cost, even for a small to mid-sized company, can be $30,000, $40,000 just for this one slice of the pie you need. So cost varies heavily based on functionality and response and things like that. And I do think that that's something that should be considered, by virtually everybody. Is at the end of the day, this is not an issue to relax around. This is your time to make sure that you are ever vigilant, and have solutions that are ever vigilant in order to keep the bad guys out. It's the same reason why, federal buildings have guards that literally just stand around waiting for threats to happen. Physical security versus, and computer security are the same. You've got to have guards standing outside the door looking for oddball stuff to happen. That's the only way bad stuff gets prevented from happening.
Absolutely. Another great episode. Continuous monitoring is as important as anything in the compliance landscape. And with that, we wrap up another great episode of Mission Compliance. We hope our discussion today has provided you with valuable insights, practical strategies, and inspiration to navigate the ever-evolving world of defense. We'd like to thank Mike for joining us and talking about this important topic. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, always a pleasure, Roman.
But the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to continue exploring these topics and connect with us via our social media channels. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and engage with fellow listeners using the hashtag Mission Compliance Podcast. If they haven't already, what should they do, Mike?
Well, they should definitely like this episode. It was a good one. And then, of course, subscribe and, tell your friends about it. We're really getting some awesome traction with this thing, and we love delivering all of these, tips and good, good best practices and things like that. So hopefully we're providing you some value. And if you do, make sure to like us, subscribe, and tell your friends about us.
You heard the guy. Subscribe to your favorite podcast platform so you know when new episodes like this one are released. And we truly appreciate it if you could rate and review the show. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you thought-provoking episodes and high-quality content. Join us next time as we delve further into the dynamic world of defense, security, and industry innovation. Until then, take care, stay informed, and make compliance your mission. See you next time.
See you, everybody.